about choices, no doubt.
Choices.
Looking at your life from the inside.
That's right.
Life's about choices, no doubt. Looking at your life from the inside. Life's about choices, no doubt.
Speak on it.
Looking at your life from the inside. Life's about choices, no doubt.
West side.
Looking at your life from the inside. Looking out.
Family, it's your boy, Lamonte Faison, with You Versus Yourself podcast, where the truth and you collide. If you like my content, please like and subscribe to my channel. And remember, I'm still in the building.
Family, it's your boy, Lamonte Faison, and y'all know I'm in the building. Listen, we got a hot new episode today, and it's about men versus women. That's right, men versus women. Listen, the internet is on fire with these discussion and gender wars that is happening amongst us. Men are complaining about the men. Women are complaining about the women. Women are complaining about the men, and men are complaining about the women. And so on and so on and so on. And you can hardly understand what the topic is even about because they're going back and forth and talking over each other, and in some cases getting irate to where they almost want to come to blows. By the way, this is not just about men versus women that are coming to blows. It's people in talk shows having conversations. I'm seeing former gang members and gang members having conversation, and it's becoming escalated. And now we're in position to engage in violence. Again, I'm okay with the discussions, but are the discussions productive? Do we have some rules in place? Do we have the coping skills to be able to deal with conflict? And so today I'm talking about men versus women and how to resolve conflict. And when we're talking about conflict can be just a situation that needs to be resolved. And it's not so much the conflict in itself, it's how do you resolve the conflict. For an example, there's 3 stages called conflict escalation. And that is the issue level. What is the issue level? This is the level that we keep everything cordial. We can have a conversation about the issue or the disagreement. At the issuing level, we do not, I repeat, we do not derail from the issue. Why is this important? Because if you derail from the issue, then you'll find yourself in what we call the personality level. What's the personality level? The personality level is now we're taking shots at each other. It's no longer about the issue where things are calm, things are cordial. It's about personality now. It's about me taking a shot at you. It's about me trying to take a dig at you. And when that happens, we're no longer focused on level 1, which is the issuing level, because we're with personal. At the personal level, you take shots. You put each other down. You're sarcastic with each other. You cut each other off. You bring up things from the past. Let me give you an example. So today, we're having a conversation and a dispute, for an example, over the dishes not being washed. Today, we're doing that. But then, one of the parties bring up, yeah, you didn't wash the dishes 2 weeks ago. That is not how you're going to resolve the conflict. You must stay in the moment. Deal with that issue at hand, very important. When you get into a debate, talk about men versus women. Are the men simps? Are the women masculine? There is a way to approach those discussions. We do not have to take personal shots at each other just to get our point across. It's important for dialogue. We always talking about, man, I want a First Amendment right. I can say what I want to say. You can. It does not mean that there's not consequences. It does not mean that there won't be an escalation. It does not mean that there won't be violence. Is why I'm introducing something to my audience today called conflict kindness. So if y'all want to go back and forth with men versus women on these podcasts, great. But in order to get to that core issue, I believe a better way to get there is through conflict kindness. Conflict kindness is where we can have a disagreement. I can still be very respectful. In fact, I seen a Hebrew Israelite, I forgot the guy's name, and he was debating a guy named God Logic. They don't agree on everything, but they respect one another. And so if you're watching those debates or you watching that match or debate match, I can at least stomach it and watch it because they're respectful of one another and I get to hear both viewpoints. We have to be careful that we don't start taking personal shots because whatever they're saying does not fit our narrative. And we go into saying, well, this guy right here, he's from this side, and this guy is from another side, and they're idiots, and they're idiots, and they're stupid. When you start calling people names and ad hominem attacks, then it becomes personal. Then it escalates to potential violence, domestic violence, assault, batteries, and you find yourself getting yourself in a situation. Now, somebody asked me the other day, what do you think about the men versus women argument and men in leadership and women in leadership? And what's my belief on that? I believe people should live their ideal, whatever your ideal is. If you believe that women should lead, then lead. If you believe a woman shouldn't lead, then you bet not marry a woman who believes she should lead. That's how I see it. Whatever your criteria is, you should find that and walk in it. I personally don't think it's a big debate, personally, in my personal opinion, because I do believe that whatever you desire, then that's what you should be in alignment with. We don't have to go back and forth and call each other names because we don't agree. Again, that's that ego. And that ego represents the false self. That ego wants to be right. That ego wants to win the argument. And it's not always about winning the argument. Sometimes it's just about listening, making our peace, and agreeing to disagree. I don't think women are any less human than a man. I think these are two human beings. In some cases with different ideas of how they want to live their lives. In some cases. Somebody called me the other day and said, hey man, these women just want the bag. Okay. And if I am a man and I know that, I'm going to steer away from that type of woman. Now, somebody told me that the simp is going to do whatever woman want them to. Okay. If they are in agreement. See, I don't have a whole lot of pushback for what grown people want to do in their relationships for themselves. It's not necessary. How can two walk unless they agree? If you agree to go to a swingers club and you and your wife want to swing, by all means, do your thing. I'm not getting ready to debate should you be in a swinging club or you're not. Or you shouldn't, right? I'm not here to debate that. That's between you and your spouse. There's also an argument about, women preaching in the church. Some men think women can preach in the church and some don't. Again, if you believe that a woman It's okay for a woman to preach in the church, then that's the type of woman you marry. If you believe that a woman shouldn't preach in the church, then you bet not marry a woman who believes that she should be preaching in the church, because that's going to be an issue. That's going to be a conflict. Again, we choose. But how do we choose when we are in disagreements? How do we respond when we disagree with each other? This is how a lot of domestic violence and domestic disputes come. Because the person says, you know what, I don't want to talk right now. And the other person said, no, I want to talk right now. I want to resolve the issue again. No conflict, kindness. We're taking shots. It is very important when we resolving conflict to implement something we call second thought. Thinking before I respond, before I react to a situation. Also, calling a timeout. This should be discussed in my mind, in my studies. This should be discussed at a certain time. What time is that? In the beginning. If we're going to have disputes and we may have arguments, then let's implement something we call a timeout. That timeout allows me to walk away without you chasing me and following me. It allows me to calm myself down because I'm so emotionally charged, I need a break. And the reason why I need a break, because I want us to resolve the issue, honey. I don't want us to take personal shots at each other. Men versus women. Is the woman masculine or too masculine? It's going to be a matter of an opinion. You don't have to be right about it, because everyone is not going to think that you're right about it. And it's okay for other people to believe that you're incorrect about it. But you get yourself in a tizzy and begin to call people names because they don't agree with you. Again, second thought, thinking before I respond, thinking about those consequences, looking for the best possible answer for that event or that situation, calling the time out, calm down. Very important. And what happens in that third stage, so what we have the issuing level, right? We have the personal level, we're making attacks on each other. Then the next one is the relationship. This is where the relationship itself becomes the focus. Now we are wondering, should we even be in this relationship? Do I really want to engage in this debate? Do I really want to be married to this person? Do I really want to go to this event where everybody gets in a tizzy if people don't believe like they believe? Trust me, we're in a society now, more they're choosing sides today. I saw the Republicans and the MAGA movement going on. Then you have the liberals, the independents, and the far left and the far right. We forgot how to engage in disputes. It is okay to agree to disagree. But we're running to our corners. You red, I'm blue. We can't talk. If you don't believe in a certain group or religion, I ain't got to put them down. I ain't got to call them names. All right, you're not a Christian. Fine. You're not a Hebrew Israelite. You're not Kemet. You're not a Protestant. You're not a Jehovah's Witness. Fine. Why does it have to be your way? If you believe what it is that you say you believe, then walk in that idea. The best version of yourself is when you're in self-control. When you get to control and master your emotions. without going off the deep end. This is important for our relationships. This is important for our debates. This is important for the men versus women discussion about masculinity, about simps, about Kevin Samuels, about a whole host of things out there in discussions and topics. We can have these conversations, y'all. But let's use some coping skills. Let's use some tools so we can engage in productive communication. And just maybe we can learn something from each other. But it's hard to learn when I'm talking over you. And trust me, many of us do it. I've done it myself. And sometimes I still have to watch myself. Why is that important? Because it's hard to hear when you're talking. All right? So that's my segment today on men versus women. Conflict resolution. I've gave you some tools for that today. So until next time, remember, being calm is cool.